And we are live according to our lovely little Facebook comments. So up here. So welcome, Tiffany. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue. Possible to stream. And is possible to stream was ended or deleted on. We'll keep trying. Let me know.
Kindness.
Oops, I don't need that lady.
No one.
Let me see. If you are watching us, can you say hello? Oh, it's just not going. Oh, it's not going onto Facebook, so it's going to keep trying. It'll be on Susie's page, but it won't be on my business page by the look of that. So, anyway, we will just keep on keeping on because it will be on Facebook and on YouTube and in 5 foot 5 foot rope group. So the show must go on. So
all the joys, right? Technology's always given us something new to figure out.
Yes, exactly. So Tiffy, I'm pretty excited to have this time with you because you and I go live together and we work together. We share our love of oils and we work to inspire other people to use oils and change their lives, make the change that they need. But I actually haven't heard much of the back end of your story. So what I'd love today is you just share a little bit about where you've come from. And I liked your write-up where you talked about how you grew up in a community that was caring and you loved being part of that bigger picture of a community and how it supported you. But it would also be just nice to hear what happened because some trauma stuff happened for you. And then I'd love to hear your journey of what you've been doing to put yourself back together and your ongoing journey that you and I have connected through the oils is obviously going to be part of what you are sharing today. So maybe take a little step back in your childhood because I'd love to know a little bit more about that community feel and how it made you feel. And it's obvious to me that you want to bring that into your life ongoing, and I'd love to hear more about that journey and what that means for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to share it too, actually. But yeah, I grew up in a beautiful little community associated with the church that we grew up in. And I just remember there was always, a village there to raise the children, basically, I guess is the best way to put it. And I just never really imagined living a life where that wasn't accessible or that anybody would be living a life where they didn't have access to that kind of a thing. Obviously, as we grow up, we realize it's, not exactly as white picket fence as we'd all like it to be. But yeah, so growing up in that community, I, watched my mum go through problems with her health as well. She had she was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, so she was actually bedridden for quite a number of years. And, we always had people there to help, drive us around, take us to school, all the little things, just be there. And I really, as I sort of grew up and that sort of slipped away, it became more and more important to me to make sure that I found a way to sort of integrate that into my life and for my children and for my family as well. And yeah, from a young age, in the church, I was always wanting to heal and just share that loving energy that I was provided, whether it would be getting up on stage and singing or if a friend fell over or my sisters particularly would fall, I'd pray for them as soon as they fell over to sort of heal them. So healing has always been a part of my life. And it's been really exciting to find extra tools and other ways to sort of connect with people on that sort of a level as well. And as you mentioned, I had, a bit of couple of traumatic experiences in my life. I was actually abused by my father for 6 years and then fell into a incredibly abusive relationship in my young adult years as well for about 5 years, and then was stalked for another 2 after that. So when things like that in your life happens, you're forced to focus on your mental health, and it's just not an option not to. And when you start working on that, you build up your education, and you talk to your doctors, and you go through all these avenues, and for that for some people is everything, and that's all they need. But for me, I just needed something more. I didn't need to talk about my dramas. I didn't need to hear that I was doing well. I was so sick of hearing that I was doing well, because I wasn't doing well. And I just kept thinking, like, if I'm doing well, then what about all those people that aren't doing well? Like, this isn't good enough. There's got to be a better way of, like, loving ourselves and, being our full glowing lights and stuff. So that's when I started expanding what I call my toolkit. And I was wanted to incorporate things that weren't medications, and things that I weren't, I didn't want to have to take medication every day, because I did see people struggle with, the wrong medications, or the side effects of the medications, or, just so many different things that you've got to navigate before you find your fit. And that wasn't for me. So enter spirituality, I suppose, at that stage. I did a lot of meditation and a lot of inner work. And I learnt about healing the emotions out of your body, because a lot of us sort of overlook that. We talk about muscle memory when we're talking about exercise and stuff like that, but we forget muscle memory is also emotional. So it becomes really, really important to make sure that you're nurturing and taking care of those physical aspects of it, so that you can integrate everything mentally, physically, spiritually into alignment, so that you can move forward with life. And I had some very interesting tools given to me that I use with my children, and I still use to this day. But they only really had the power that I gave them. So, like, if I wasn't feeling motivated, and I wasn't feeling strong, and I wasn't feeling powerful, those tools weren't as helpful as they were on the other days where I was believing in myself more, which is where the essential oils just opened up a completely new avenue of recovery for me. Because not only when I reach for an oil, does it have the power that I give it, but it also has the frequencies. It's literally raising vibrations, and it just offers this sense of, it's like a comfort blanket. You can really just make a decision on how you want to feel and step into it instantly, and not be so overwhelmed. And just to have that support is honestly just one of the biggest things that has helped me through my most recent issues with my PTSD and stuff like that.
I think that's, I just take my hat off to anyone who has gone through the type of trauma that you've obviously experienced, but you've got the ability to go, I don't want to be stuck in that story. And, I think it takes, bravery. It takes, lots of courage. It takes persistence, and it takes dedication, because, obviously you were a really young child, and I'm just so sorry to hear your story. But, I'm a school teacher, and I just know that the numbers of children that are going through trauma and of abuse, and not just children, women, but you just know that there's something not right going on. And these experiences leave us affected for life. And I don't know that you can't just wave this magic wand and go, everything's gone, everything's healed. You need to I love your idea of a toolkit, because that's my idea of that's how I talk about my healing tools, my Reiki, my meditation, my oils, my intentions, healthy lifestyle, all of those kind of things. are so important, and nourishing ourselves with supportive community is, to me, a real key. And that's tricky if you've been, you've had a fragmented childhood with the situation you've been in. Now, a lot of people go through this, and unless we do the healing along the way and that recovery journey, as you said, you got stuck in that cycle with one of your other partners. Now, we all do this, get stuck in that cycle, and I know what that cycle's like. I've been there. However, we need to kind of be aware of drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is not working for me, so what am I going to do about it? And I remember somebody really helped me, because I was that, I'm that soft-hearted, giving person who's, worried about other people, or, is caring about other people. But I had things happening to me that were totally inappropriate. But someone said to me, you're not being a bitch by handling it in this way. You're actually asserting yourself, and you are stopping that person from harming you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really big on setting boundaries. All the time I hear like people say like, oh, I don't want to, I don't like confrontation. Well, sorry, but sometimes you need to stick up for yourself, and that might require a little bit of confrontation.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. So, but even in having said that, I remember having to be organised about my confrontations, or I had to have a plan B, or I had to have an escape route, or you had to pick your moment. There's so many things that you've got to juggle to get yourself out of tricky situations that, I just feel that we've all got to reach out to. And it was actually, I had friends who came around and did took a little bit of a stance and said, hey, this isn't working. How about, and they encouraged me to take a stand, and actually were there helping me around the house doing things. And so sometimes I think you do need somebody who's not involved in the situation close up to support us, if we're in that tight pickle, to sort of support us to move forward and to take the steps that are necessary. I remember in my situation being very concerned about government organisations coming in. I had young children, and I was concerned about their ability to remove my children, or, take control in their own hands. So I erred away from that as my personal recovery program. But if you haven't got a supportive community around you, where do you go to? What do you do? And sometimes family are the last people you want to go to as well, depending on what is going on. So have you got any advice for people on that point of view?
Well, first of all, I really feel obligated to say that if you are in a domestic violence situation or abusive situation, that there is always someone willing to listen. I'm here for one. If you listening to this live, reach out to me for one, but always reach out. Don't be ashamed. Like, you are not your trauma. You're not responsible for the things you're going through. The only thing you're responsible for is taking care of you and your children, if that's the case. But to just, reaching out. It's a really difficult place to understand, because you really need to sort of know how to protect yourself, and you need to not just, physically, but emotionally. One thing I did that really, really helped me when I was, leaving and recovering, and it's the silliest thing. I imagined a shield, and through a meditation, and I would put my shield up anytime something was happening that, I was getting out of control, the situation was getting out of control. I would just sit inwards, and I would pick up my shield and push out all of my energy from my shield. And, as an empath as well, I found that really sort of protected me from being manipulated from the situation around me. And then I would be able to sort of sit and focus on my own feelings, and I'd be able to respond and not react, and then sort of disassociate from the emotion of the situation, and then you can move logically forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I remember one of my techniques was to imagine that what was coming my way was, because it was verbal abuse, flowing over me, so that I
That's a
didn't.
beautiful one.
There were moments that I didn't get hooked into whatever that was going on. So that was my way. And there was other little techniques like, having areas in the house. If confrontation was coming up, this was my safe zone. That was one of my techniques. Like, if we get to this stage, I'm going to my room and you're not allowed in my room, that kind of thing.
I did a lot of walking, down to the beach and stuff like that. Yeah, in the swimming pool. Yeah.
Yes, swimming. Yes. So, and it's interesting what happens. So we go into this, like, a fight and flight situation. We go into denial. We've got to go through all the processes of the emotions of, scenarios, and that takes, some unpacking, and it takes time, it takes dedication, and it is possible for all of us to come out the other side and learn to cope. And this is why I'm passionate about stories of courage and courage to change, because I know what I went through in my own journey. So more recently, you and I met in 2021, and I introduced essential oils into your life, and I've been watching you since we've met, and I am so impressed and very grateful to have your friendship, but also so impressed with, what you have done. You've taken, when I met you, and that transformation that has happened for you just in the last few months has been totally amazing. So I'd love you to share your journey about that. And when I said to you, do you do readings? Do you want to come online and work with me? Why was it that your instant reaction was a yes? Because I feel that you were already on some path. And when I looked at your write-up about what you talked about yourself, you are into this community is obviously a strong part of that, your purpose. So tell me about your transformation that's happened in the last few, 6 months?
I think it's a little bit longer than that now. I think we're coming up on 8, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I started off with, watching you online, obviously, and having a couple of little chats with you. And I ended up, I was just looking at a few oils, but I ended up going with the starter kit, and I'm so glad I did. I just started using that intuitively. My mum used to use essential oils when I was younger, so I had a little bit of an idea about them. And I wanted to use essential oils for a ridiculously long time. I was like, I need to get some essential oils. But I knew the industry was a little bit, not so awesome. Which is, I'm so glad I did actually happen into meeting you. When I got the starter kit, I think the first oil I opened was Valor, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I went and put that straight into one of the body scrubs that I already had, that I'd made up. And I just started using that intuitively. And it just got addicted. I was oiling everybody. I was like, take this, or you a bit of that, making rollers, oiling everybody up. Since then, I've obviously adapted my the way I use it a little bit more. I'm quite a fan of the deep inhalation, or as Zita was saying, Amber Hearding it. Yeah, getting it all in there, rubbing it into my aura and rubbing it in.
Yep.
And all those sorts of things. But then I've learned all sorts of interesting techniques about, dropping it through your aura and stuff before putting it onto your chakras. And I've done, of course, the feelings protocol, where you use your essential oils with a particular I guess meditation is a good way of putting it, in a routine on certain places of the body. And that was a really like life-changing experience. I remember going through my 30 days with that, and just like at the start, I was sort of like, oh, this is a bit, whatever, I'm putting oils on and meditating. But then within 4 to 5 days, I was feeling things come up and struggling with other stages of it. And then by the end of it, I was just like, it was like I was able to actually identify my triggers rather than being like, oh, I'm triggered. I would be able to, be like, oh, this is what's triggering me, and this is how I can nurture it, or, at least talk about it at that stage. Because I think that's one of the things I struggled with a lot, is a bit of a disassociation when it comes to actually communicating the emotions and understanding the triggers. And that's a really important part of healing. Like, that's like the biggest part. Like, if you can't work with your triggers, then you're just going to be triggered all the time.
I love
That's
it's like you became, and I don't know if this is the right word, but it's like, because I know this is what happened for me, you become a little bit detached, or the hook that is there beforehand is not there. And I remember one day, I was traveling in the car with a certain person, and I was being triggered. But my reply came out of my mouth, and it was like I wasn't in my body, and I was sitting back listening to what was going on. And there was this whole shift, energetic shift for me. And I wasn't the one being triggered. The triggers were there, but I was sort of and it's really hard to explain, but that was when I realized I was actually in my power, because the triggers were there. I was hearing them and experiencing them, but I wasn't undermined by them. It was quite a powerful experience. Is that sound a little bit like what you're talking about?
It's hard to spot on. It really is. You just sort of like, it's almost like, this is me when I have a PTSD episode, but now I'm having this episode and I'm sort of watching above.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really strange. Like,
yes.
I had an anxiety attack a few weeks ago, and I was struggling to breathe a little bit, getting a bit, but I was able to. First thing I did was reach for a paper bag and grab an oil. Like, usually I'd be sitting in the corner having an hour to myself, sobbing away, like it was, and it wasn't like I didn't do it. It just happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking to someone else this morning, and she said, I don't know, things are just, and I'm going to interview her in a couple of weeks too, but, things just changed. And I don't know which oil it was in particular. And what I love is how these oils just transform us without the heartache and without the headache. And it just, I don't know, it's just another level of healing that I know for me I wouldn't have experienced without using these beautiful oils.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're just so versatile as well. Like, the ways to use them, you're always just discovering a new way you want to use them too. So that's always very fun for me. Like Zeta, was it Zeta last week? I've been really enjoying the, smelling and then listening for the calling in the body and then putting it there. So that's been a lot of fun. And the kids, they love it too. Like, my daughter loves it, but my son in particular, like, you saw him on a phone call a few weeks ago. He comes in, he goes, I want this and I want it here.
Yeah, and I want it now.
Put it here.
Yeah, they're so natural.
So cute.
It's fantastic that you're blessing your children with tools to support yourself. And if they learn how to go and grab an oil and how to use it, that's fantastic. We've got the lovely Jess Miller here, sending her beautiful love. So great to have you here too. So if you hadn't found the oils and started using them and bringing them into your life and making it part of your life, where do you think you'd be at the moment? Do you think you'd be doing what you're doing? What kind of changes? Can you pinpoint some of the changes that have?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't even want to think about where I'd be if I didn't have the oils. To be honest,
Yes.
I've definitely become a lot more motivated. The last couple of years, I think too. It's important to sort of understand. I guess I got really lost. I was relocated by victims of crime from Queensland to South Australia when we moved here, and that's when I was pregnant with my son. And so at that stage, that's when things sort of started just going really crazy for me. Obviously, I was pregnant with my son. I was actually quite a rough pregnancy. So, I did not have any time for healing during that because I was pregnant and sick. And then I had a really crazy labor and I was sick for I was bruised from the C-section for 12 months. So it was intense. And so it was like my son was about 1.5, coming up on 2. And then all of a sudden I went from it was like I was in survival mode and then sort of like a moment of quiet. And then all of the trauma that I wasn't ready to deal with before sort of came out. And it got really dark for a little while there. And I was drowning. And I was talking to professionals, psychologists. I had through victims of crime paid for quite decent medical advisors, and I was just like, this is not doing anything. Like I wasn't leaving the house, I wasn't going out, I wasn't, and honestly, like, that is a bad path to be going down, like.
Yep.
But yeah, oils just sort of opened it all back up, and I just feel like my cup is overflowing again, and I'm ready to pour into other people's cups, and that's what I want to do.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I've got all beautiful warm tingles in that. That's fantastic. Well, you certainly are. To me, it seems like you're back on track and you know where you're going. And I think that's important because I think a lot of people don't really have a sense of maybe what their purpose is. And, our purpose is within ourselves and within our family, but it's also, I believe, our purpose is to be amongst community. And if we've got all these traumas that we haven't processed and worked on within ourselves, when just even and I remember those times you'd go out and you really, because you knew that you'd gone through, you're going through stuff, and you really didn't want to be in amongst community. Even for me, being a single mum made me think everybody else has got their life sorted and I've got no support, and all those feelings and thoughts that go through your mind, which I discovered years later. Just because somebody was living in a family and they looked like they had the fancy cars and the flash house and whatever else, or they looked like they were happy, it didn't actually always add up. I mean, often it does, but it didn't always add up. And, over time, you saw these families separating and falling apart, disintegrating. And, my belief really is that until we've done that inner work and that inner healing, when we're going to really struggle with any relationship that we have. And so it's actually worth spending the time to look after ourselves and
Absolutely.
create that feeling. So I don't know if you can see comments, but we've got so beautiful. We've got lovely Zeta on. So beautiful, Tiff. I'm glad we met. Yay for community.
Yay.
Zeta's all about community. And Jess, that's lovely, Tiff. The zest to life is our main purpose. Heart hugs. So you've got some great supporters here. And
thanks, lady.
Michelle's popped in. Hello, Michelle. So what I love is that as I align with my purpose in life out in the world, and as each and every one of us do, the world aligns with us and things start coming towards us. And, I had no idea that I was going to be interviewing people about their courage stories and talking about change. And I know that for me, because I've gone through the journey, you have some understanding, but also because I've gone through the journey, I want other people to know that if your journey is tough, you can actually do something about it. Would you agree with that? Mm.
Absolutely. That's probably one of my biggest concerns for the world, to be honest. Like I said earlier, like I was sitting like with my psychologist and they're going, you're doing really well. Like you're a great example, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm not doing well. What about all these other people that aren't doing well? Like if I'm not okay, what are they going through? Like,
yes. But even being told that when you're not would add another layer of confusion.
I just wanted to shake them, be like,
it's like, exactly. I know people who've gone to certain types of counselling and it hasn't done it for them. In actual fact, it's put them off. And that's, because, if you've got to regurgitate your story or which is often
I find, and this could be just me, but I did like a lot of counselling after like my court case with my ex-stepdad, and I found it was almost like they were trying to push me to the next stage of my healing before I was ready, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
So the best example I can think of is when I was talking about my trauma with my psychologist, they kept bringing up my mum, even though my trauma was not related to my mum. But apparently it's a natural phase to go through the blame to the mum. And it was like they were almost trying to push me to that stage where I wasn't there, you know what I mean? It was, I found that they're either just sitting there going, nodding and asking you the same questions you're asking yourself, or trying to push you to the next stage that you're not maybe ready for.
Absolutely. It's, and everyone's journey is so different. So how can someone be telling you something when you're not, and you might get a counsellor you don't relate to, and then you've got to have the courage. Actually, I had a psychologist who said, I can't work with you. I don't agree. Yeah.
Wow.
And she actually admitted that it was her problem, but in the meantime, I had to go and get somebody else and
start the story all over again.
Details,
that's the worst part.
Sorry, say that again.
Well, when you get a new counsellor, you got to start the whole story all over again. You're like,
exactly. And also, me sharing my story and someone saying, well, I don't agree with how you've handled that. Well, okay. And
I did the best.
That, work with you, and you're going, that made me feel even more wrong. Very, very interesting. And then when I rang people to kind of, talk about that, they, other people in that profession just, they just stick together. So now they're not all going to be like that. But, if we have these experiences where we're not resonating with the support we're getting, well, that can send us further down into that dark cave. So that's where, for me, essential oils came in. And I think maybe that's what's happened for you as well, because, the oils, they kind of work in a way that, things just change. I just discovered that I changed. Sometimes I could just get this sense that, the pennies dropped. You would get some understanding about something, or you would get a different viewpoint, or suddenly you kind of go, oh, well, that doesn't worry me today. It might have worried me yesterday. So have you got any of those kind of stories that
absolutely, mostly the kids. Mostly the kids. I find myself not as flustered with them, like, because I do try to not to yell and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just like, now I'm just sort of giggling and it's a lot easier and stuff like that. They fight a lot, like, kids, why do they do that?
Well, I used to think all families were harmonious and everything. People that had lots of kids, and I used to think, oh, well, everything looks fine to me. Well, why are my kids all arguing? And then you discover that they had the same problem too. So it's amazing how much is in our head and our perception of what happens for other people. But then when if you take a leaf or you go and stay with them or have a meal with them or whatever, you kind of go, oh, actually, things go on.
We're
in
all
this
human.
Yeah, that's right. The joys of being human. Absolutely. So you've got some more comments here. We've got the lovely Jessica Pryor. Hi, beautifuls. You've come so far, Tiff, and are doing amazing, inspiring others. Go, girl. And Jess Miller was talking about the textbook heroes. Some counselling, and oh yeah, you find one you like and they leave, like doctors. Yes, so there issues. Yeah. Who hasn't? I got a doctor that I really wanted to work with who was interested in open. She actually got some oils and then she moved clinics, and I can't go to her. So now, yeah, it's the worst feeling, says Zeta, when this happens with a professional health practitioner. It can make you feel really unsafe and like there is nowhere to go. Now, it is so important that we are aware that health professionals are there. They play their role, but we all resonate with somebody really differently. And we're not here to bag out that profession, but I can see some other people are speaking from experience of not feeling heard. And genuinely, if we care about other people and we want that transformation, it is so important that people are validated. No matter how they think or feel, they need to be validated. Like, I'm hearing you, I get it. And as a primary school teacher, I know with children, when the kids will come in and they'll be angry and about to, snot someone else in the nose or something. And if I just stop and say, oh my gosh, you are so angry, I can tell you're angry about something. And then they'll start verbalizing 9 times out of 10. And they'll start talking about what's going on because they're hearing from you, oh, I get you. And they're not hearing, stop this, don't do that. I mean, occasionally it might be a stop to yell if the fist is, right in front of the nose or something like that. But, it's very important that we validate people, make them feel that they're of value and worthy, and then you can go down that track of talking them through whatever it is that they need to experience. So
and that's what we all want in life, really, isn't it? So we all just want to be heard and validated. So
yeah, absolutely. And but to be heard, we've got to speak up.
That's right.
And that is a big, I know for me, it took me years to really acknowledge what was going on. I don't even know I can't remember who I reached out to or what I actually did, but we do need to find someone that we feel safe with, and it may or may not be family. It may be someone like us we've met online. You just need to find somebody who you feel comfortable with and reach out. But we are very lucky because we have discovered the power of Young Living essential oils, and now I believe that I probably have saved lots of money counselling because the oils work in a really natural way, and they also work in a non-threatening. That's the word I'm looking for. So it supports us just to easily open up the door for transformation and open up the door for being able to speak our truth. I know you love the Feelings collection. Is that one of the most transformational collections for you, or just another?
So far.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that sounds like you're open to even more transformation. I love that. So what she got the Feelings collection, and she grabbed the protocol and worked through a process for a month. And that really had profound effects. Gave you bigger wings to fly, or?
Yeah, I think, like I was mentioning earlier about how I was really trying to make sure I incorporate the healing into my body. I feel like it got because I got the affirmations, the positive thoughts. That's easy. I got that down to a fine art.
Yeah.
But it was like it really incorporated it into my body. You know what I mean? Like I could feel it.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And that is important because we can say affirmations till the cows come home, or they don't come home, or they stop mooing, or they start mooing, or whatever it is. But if we do not address the underlying issues, we are really just putting another layer on top of other layers. And
toxic positivity.
Absolutely. And that's when,
Yeah.
of course, the oils come in. What did Jess say? I sometimes say to angry people, whoa, lucky you're not a superhero, because we would all be fried. That's impressive. I'm surprised there isn't a storm outside. So what's going on to create this energy? Good. That's great. I love that, Jess. And asking a question is also a really good technique, because if I ask a question, it takes your brain into another neural pathway of thinking about the answer. So there's so many great techniques, and I know Jess works one-to-one with clients, and she's a mum. So, you know, once we've become mothers and we have children, they teach us so much. I think my children were my greatest teachers. One of my favorite things is that they taught me how to say no.
Oh, yeah.
And that was empowering, because children, oh, do you want this? No. And it's just matter of fact, you know, no, I don't. And there's not necessarily this great emotion behind it, or it's just, no, I actually don't want that drink at the moment. So,
and they won't explain themselves to you about it either. They won't be like, no, sorry, because no, it's just no.
I want sorry track. No, exactly.
I don't care about your feelings.
Yes. Oh, and Jess says, and then she gets the oils out. I love it, Jess. So, yeah.
Spray them like holy water.
Yeah, exactly. or you can get yourself a spray and, you know, go, come on, little one, come here and I'll just spray you down.
Just waft yourself over there. I'm like, I'm wearing enough. You're wafting.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I just I've been wearing Lady Sclerol lately, and people say, oh, are you wearing geranium oil? And I go, oh, yeah, I am actually. And oh, my gosh, it smells beautiful. And I know when I'm wearing it myself, I don't necessarily, I'm just so used to the smell. So it always intrigues me when other people around you start saying, oh, my gosh, you smell so beautiful.
I've noticed that too. I was doing some washing just today, actually, and I was like, oh, I could smell my essential oils on my clothes, but like I didn't notice it when I was wearing it.
Yes, exactly. And you think, oh, wow, why would I want to wash this? Because it smells beautiful. If you've got one of those nice, yummy, you know, supportive, warming and uplifting oils, it's like, oh, I don't actually want to wash this off. Yeah. Yes. So if you had some advice for our listeners, or for anyone who comes across this and they are in a situation that they not, like, it doesn't have to necessarily be domestic violence or serious trauma, but if someone is experiencing those thoughts and feelings and they're in a situation they can't get themselves out of it, what would you have any advice for people?
Absolutely. I think the most important advice that anybody needs to hear, no matter what their circumstances, is that you're beautiful and that you're loved and that you matter and that this too shall pass. Nothing's unachievable. It might seem difficult and it might take a lot of hard work, but it's always worth it.
Absolutely. So in order for us all to have good health, good happiness, and feel fulfilled in life, we've really got to do that inner journey work. And is it uncomfortable? Yes, it can be. But for me, I actually think the thought of it being uncomfortable can be bigger than the actual uncomfortableness that we experience when we go through that journey. So, you know, things like shadow work and, oh, I don't know, there's all those things. There's so many people out in the world these days with so many amazing techniques. That you've just got to kind of work out who you resonate with, who you can trust. Find someone you can trust and reach out to them. So if anyone's wants to talk to Tiffy, I'm sure she's there. She's here. She's showing up. because she wants to shine her light and encourage others to do that. And I think that is so admirable. Reach out to Tiffy. She can help you with some oils. She can give you advice. And I would imagine you would be very understanding because you've walked that journey yourself.
I try to be. I like to think that I am. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't believe in judgment. I don't really believe that there are, mostly there aren't really bad people. There are just people doing what they can with the tools they've got. So, some people just need new tools.
Yes. On that note, sometimes we have these people in our life, and what do we do with them? Like if you're entrenched in a scenario like, it's family or close friends or things, I actually believe it's okay to cut off if that's what you need to do. It doesn't mean that you can, like, somebody I'm thinking in my scenario, I could tell that person needed healing. But I was giving my energy more to them than I was to myself. And that was where I was letting my family
dangerous
down.
place.
Yes. So if things aren't happy for you in your life, you've got to make a stand. And I can remember thinking, even when my husband left me, thinking, oh, my God, how am I going to bring up 3 children by myself? It just seemed like this great, big, unachievable task. However, you just have to put one foot in front of the other and not think about that long goal. Grab your present time and be in that's an oil blend we love to use, and be in the here and now, because that's where our point of power is. It's not where we want to get to. We can have that in our sights, but we're not going to get like just snapping our fingers. It's a process.
We all get so focused on the goal. I'll be happy once I get there. I'll be happy once I achieve it. I'll be happy in the new house, the new job, whatever. But we all, that's just not the case. Life isn't about the destination. It's about the journey. So yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Just got to find what sparks your passion and keep fanning that. And remember, you don't know anybody but you anything.
I like that.
Maybe your kids.
Jess says, I love how we are strengthening our oil community. I love Jess's word for our oil community by getting to know each other. Wonderful village of like-minded people. Really appreciate your sharing, Tiffanie. So, your story means when we tell our stories, it means other people start to relate to us, and they can kind of go, I'm not alone.
I can do that too.
I can do that too, and I'm not alone. So I think this is I'm pretty committed to keep finding people who have their story of walking through their courage to change, and I feel really blessed that I'm coming across all you beautiful people who are walking this path, and we are definitely supporting each other through this journey. So
it was so wonderful to be welcomed into your little oily community too.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and our love of oils is part of the glue that keeps us all together. So looking forward to having times where we can get together, and that will happen in the future in person. So, well, Tiff, thank you very much for being brave. Thank you very much for having that heart to support others. And I really honor and value the idea that you want to be a part of a community that is proactive about the change that we need in our society. There was so much abuse that, we think it's all handled, and people are becoming more and more aware of it. However, I think it's as prevalent as ever has been. And it's not until we make a stand and say no more that then we start that healing journey and start putting ourselves into the right arena with the right community around us, oiling up, of course, and doing what we can to change lives of other people's. So thank you. And Susan Skyring joined. So you found me on YouTube. Yes, for some reason Facebook wouldn't let me stream to my personal page, my public page. I don't know. Sometimes you have these techie glitches, but I've actually put it into our oil group, so that's where a lot of our oilers are watching from, and people from the 5 Foot Rope community page as well. So thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you, Tiff. You know what gets me, I just want to say, is I've seen the change in how far you've come in the last few months, in under a year, and I'm so looking forward to seeing where things are going for you into the future. Is there an oil integrity? I guess I'd be thinking of frankincense or Palo Santo, because it will help with those connections with source, and help to eliminate the negative energy around us. So that's what I would be recommending. And I'm going to sneeze right at the end of this. So thank you everyone for joining us. I think it must be time
Thanks
to
for
go.
having me.
So it's beautiful, Tiff. I love you so much, and I look.
Oh, I love you too.
So thanks everybody. Oil up, and oil will be okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you, Jess. Cheerio.
Bye.